Hello, this is Craig from bitsbox.co.uk. This is the second part of our little series looking at how I paint my Orruk Ironjawz. As you may notice, we have a slightly different setup today, so a nice bright blue background. I'm actually using one of the backgrounds from a micro match from Table Wall, and I might do a little video showcasing them actually, because they're really good for photography and filming. But today we are looking at the Orruk Ironjawz skin, so let's just crack straight on. So I'm going to begin with a base coat of wire flesh. So I'll just pop it open and stick some on my palette. Now I'm going to thin it down ever so slightly and probably apply a couple of thin coats. I find when doing flesh, especially on faces, it's almost a must to actually do thin coats. Otherwise you could obscure some of the detail, and there's some really good detail on the faces of these miniatures. So I'm going to go around the entire miniature and base coat all this flesh with this colour. So now that we've got a nice solid coat of the wire flesh, we're going to take some Warboss green and we're going to go over the skin in exactly the same manner as we did with the wire flesh. We put the wire flesh down first just because it gives us a better base coat to work from instead of the black that was already on there. And again, I'm going to thin it down just ever so slightly, and I'll do a couple of thin coats. That's thinned down way too much. There we go. And I'll do a couple of nice thin coats, and that'll give us a really nice smooth finish. Okay, so as you can see, just move the camera slightly. As you can see, we now have a nice green base from which we can work from. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to shade all these areas using Coelia green shade. You can use Bealtown green if you don't want such a dark shade, but I really like this colour, so I thought I'll use it. I've watered it down ever so slightly, and then I'm just going to apply it all over. As you can see, it gives us a really nice dark green in all the recesses, and I'll darken this colour down just ever so slightly. So you don't want it to pull up too much in all the recesses. You can see on the chin now I'm just being a bit careful with it. I apply it over all the muscles, hands, etc., and that'll just bring out the fingers really nice. So I'm going to continue working around all his skin, and then we'll come back and we'll be able to do some highlights. Okay, so now that shade wash has completely dried, you can see it's brought out detail in the face very nicely. Now it's darkened down the skin a little bit, so we're going to come back in with a Warboss green. And we're just going to apply this a bit more carefully this time. Just going to leave the shade in the recesses and just lighten up the skin in the process. So just hit all the raised areas essentially. I've thinned it down, and you may need 2 thin coats, but I think just 1 thin coat might just be enough here. And on the flat surfaces on the arms, you literally just apply it all over. Okay, and as you can see, that is just brightened the skin up just a little. So now it's time for us to highlight. So I'm going to take Warboss green again. This time I'm going to add in some Moot green, roughly 50-50. So for my scheme, I go for quite a bright sort of orc flesh. If you want to go sort of more paler, you could replace the Moot green with Skarsnik green, I think it is. That gives you a nice sort of pale colour, and I'm actually quite a fan of that scheme as well. I apologise for my chair, it's quite squeaky. Okay, so yeah, 50-50 mix. I find the Moot green on its own is quite bright, and we can use that for further highlights. So in terms of the face, I'm just going to sort of work around the more raised points. Now I've thinned this out just ever so slightly. That way it won't dry so stark on the flesh, because when it comes to flesh, you really want your highlights to be quite subtle. That'll give you a more, I guess, a more realistic scheme, if we can really say that for orcs, as they're not even real. Certainly work across the lip. Just a few other little areas just to show you, just around the face. So obviously the face, it's quite straightforward really where to place the highlights. When it comes to the arms, you could go zenithal, you could have the highlights up top. I just like to be a bit stylized, and I'll just literally just follow the muscles round like that. And you can, if you wish, also highlight on the veins. Of course, you could always choose to paint them different colour if you wish, but again, I'm just going to try and squeeze my brush just in here along the edge of that muscle there. So I'll just work around the rest of the orc, and then we can just add one more further highlight, and then we can move on to his teeth and claws, and we'll finish with his eyes. So lastly, we're going to come in with just vermouth green on its own, and this is going to be a very focused highlight. So the areas we're looking really is little tiny spots. I'm actually going to have even less on my brush. So for example, just in the centre of the forehead there, just very lightly, again we've thinned it down. And just very lightly just catching some of these edges, like the top here. And we'll do like the tip of the ears. I'll do a little bit just on that little corner of the chin there. And the centre of the bottom lip. So very subtle, and it's a bit difficult to place them perfectly on camera. When it comes to the muscles, literally just stick a little bit, just like that. A bit more on the brush. On the knuckles, literally just a little dot on each knuckle. So I'll continue to work around the skin, and then once these highlights are done, the skin will be complete, and we can move on to some of the smaller details. Okay, so the skin itself is now complete, and we can move on to doing the teeth and claws. And to start with, I'm going to take some carrot stone, and this is just going to be applied all over the teeth and claws. Obviously, take your time, be very careful with this, as they're quite small details. Again, I'll thin the paint just so it flows off the brush a little bit easier. I probably should have thinned it a little bit more, actually, but this guy doesn't really have much in terms of teeth. He has sort of like a broken one there, and that big one showing there. And exactly the same thing will be done on his claws, fingernails, or whatever you want to call them. And sorry, it's hard to angle him to show that on camera, but you get the idea. Okay, so I've given these areas a couple of thin coats, and now they just need to have a little highlight. And for that, I'm going to take some Ushabti bone. So this time I'm looking to paint most of the tooth and claws, but not all of them, so just like the top sort of 2/3 or 3/4 roughly. You don't have to be too precise. So we now just have one final detail to do on this miniature, and that is to paint his eyes. Now some of these Orc models do have their mouths open, and sometimes that will require you to paint their tongue. And for that I like to just paint them with Screamer Pink or Corn Red. I've been using Screamer Pink lately, but this one doesn't, so we're just going to take some Flash Gits Yellow and go straight to his eyes. Now obviously the eyes are a little bit tricky to paint, so it's well worth using a very fine detailed brush. And then thinning your paint down as always, and just trying to be as careful as you can. Now it's quite difficult to do this on camera, but I shall try my best. Literally just maybe the paint needs to be a bit thinner to come off the brush. Just paint very carefully in his eyes. I'll draw a little bit on the edge there, of course, as I would. But you get the gist. I will neaten that up off camera. And here he is with his skin now complete, as well as the armour. So all what's left is to paint some of the other details, such as his weapons, clothing, etc. I'm going to do these in another video, which I'll make available to our Patreons. So originally I wasn't going to do a video showing the little details at all, so I'm not sort of withholding videos just for Patreon. It will be a special bonus video that we will make available to our Patrons, and if you wish to watch that, you can sign up to our Patreon for just $1, so it's not even expensive either. And there's loads of other videos we're going to be putting up there, and quite a lot of videos will be going up on there early before they end up on YouTube. So for just $1 you can get access to all that. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and I'm really happy with how his skin has turned out. So if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and you can also subscribe to our channel if you haven't done so already. And now you can click on the little bell icon next to the subscribe button as well, and that will notify you when there's any updates on this channel. So thank you so much again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.